Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Autistic Ramblings podcast, hosted by me, Pax Art Engine. Today we're going to be talking about the vintage deadly art supplies, specifically paint. So, with that said, let's begin. We're going to talk about two paints today, which will be unveiled in the future, and then we'll do two paints next time. So, as I was going through storage issues, I wasn't able to do any animation for Totally Normal Movies, so I was able to get it back and didn't want to give up on the script, so I began writing this. Now, I made this because I haven't been telling y'all this. I'm neurodivergent, specifically autism, if the thumbnail and name of the podcast didn't give it away. So, I made this because 1, I like making and talking about cool things that interest me, and 2, didn't want to throw out the script. So here we go. By the way, sources will be in the description. So, vintage items. Stuff in your garage that can kill you. Today we're going to be talking about deadly vintage art supplies. So you're probably wondering, Pax, okay, what's the difference between vintage and retro? Well, vintage item is an item that must be around 20 years or more old, and antique is 200 years or older and is commonly furniture. And retro is something designed to look old. With that settled, let's begin. We'll look at some materials in vintage art supplies that can kill you or have killed people. Chemical makeup is the big bit of this. This is arsenic, lead, cadmium, and even radium. Yeah, that's a thing. We'll talk about it in a bit. So let's talk about some well-known deadly paints. Quick. I will not be talking about a lot of paints. I'll be doing 2 today and 2 next time. Starting with Paris green. Paris green is deadly as heck for one specific issue. Arsenic. Arsenic is a very deadly chemical. Paris green and its predecessor Sheffield or emerald green, same paint, killed people who were around it a lot. Women wearing clothes that had been colored with Paris green died from it. Wallpaper made using Paris green created a rumor that bugs wouldn't attack green rooms. And in 1830, it was rebranded as a pesticide, but its effects are still with us, especially because of its use as a paint. Now, I can't find a copy of Paris green for sale online, and frankly would probably keep it in an airtight case in a vault, but there are reproductions of the color without arsenic. The arsenic killed people by most likely, working theory, is flaking off the materials it was used on, causing the arsenic to kill people near it because arsenic is deadly. By the way, once again, all the sources will be in the description. Now, in 1889, the British government began limiting the use of arsenic as its deadly abilities began to come to light, and finally went out of use as a paint in the 1830s and was banned in the 1960s. Undark. So picture this. You're in Orange, New Jersey. There's a new company, United States Radium Corp or USRC. They make radium clock faces. Why, you may ask? Well, it makes the numbers visible at night, and not just clocks but watches and dials on control panels. Yes, that's foreshadowing. The radium craze began a bit after radium was discovered by Marie and Paul Curie. After a while, radium paint itself became common. People began using it for a lot of things. And not just paint, radium itself was used, or really just claimed to be used. For instance, radium condoms did not actually include radium. Radium energy drinks, foreshadowing, definitely most of the time had radium in them. Hence the expensive price, because radium's expensive. So you may wonder, Pax, how did it kill people? Well, the radium paint itself didn't directly kill people. It was a mix of the pigment and the way it was applied to paint by the radium girls, who we're about to talk about. But quick tangent about radium energy drinks. They were definitely real, like Radivor, a chemical which had radium in it and was mixed with water to make it diluted. In fact, if you drank too much Radivor, this happens. Yeah, this golfer, Edward Byers, had his jaw melt off. So yeah, so don't drink radium or Vradivor. Now, back to the dial painters. USRC was not the only big clock-faced company. The Radium Dial Company was based in Ottawa, Illinois, in an old high school building. So how is the paint deadly to the painters? Well, it's one thing. Lip, dip, paint. The painters would put the undark pigment on the brush, dip it in water, suck on it with their lips to get the brush fine enough to write a small for watch faces, and then paint it over and over. Between the 1920s and 1940s, radium painters named the Radium Girls, two separate groups that did not interact, sued USRC and Radium Dial. But that wasn't the end of radium painting. The 1940s brought World War II, and so demand for the dials increased for military instruments. USRC had bad practices. The leftover unsalvageable radium powder would be swept up, dumped in the men's room, or it would go through the vents in the men's room and out into the nearby area. In Ottawa, Radium Dial did the same. And today, the cleanup at the Ottawa site and at a different radium company named Luminous Works, also in Ottawa, continues today. Most of this information comes from the book The Radium Girls. Please be sure to read this book. There's also some other books and articles in the Research and Sources doc. Ottawa Factory Radium Dial. So, yeah, the conditions caused by the lip painting were tumors, issue of blood, aches and pains in the body, jaws began to decay, is really just bones in general decaying. This was called radium jaw. For now, that's it for today. Be good to one another, and I'll see you all next time.